Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders are lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4. 8.1 watts per kilo just coming from Zanaska. That is a proper kick. It's not a sprint, but this is early. This is a very unusual place to put the power down. Look at the work being done by Mr. X100 here. Nudson's coming on to give it a turn here as well. They've got to keep on working though. They want to keep Zanaska and co. They're at 3. They've got 4 seconds. Cheeky move of the year, bar none, and then he rises again. Daniel Valencia comes through to take the win. It looks to me like Jason Osborne has done it. Welcome back, Jason. Jason Osborne, winner of qualifier race number 2. Final qualifier, Jason Osborne is going to make it another win here today. He set out the speed, he set the marker. He's the man who takes victory. 7 seconds, now 6 seconds, it's yo-yoing. This is a run for the line. Who's going to take it? They kick to the line. I think that's Sabrazab from Knudsen. And welcome back to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Welcome back if you've watched the women's race, or welcome back maybe if you haven't, because we are back after 2 weeks with the men's and the women's. The women's race was an absolute corker in the amazing world of Colombia. My name's Matt Payne. I am here in the studio with Emma Martin, and we are going to be bringing you all of the race action here today. Emma, what a world Colombia is to race in. It's absolutely amazing, the graphics and the courses. Well, they have proved tough so far in the women's race.
Oh, absolutely, Matt. The thundering waterfalls, the wooden bridges. It has got a little bit of everything. The fire-lit caves. You know, what else can you ask for on a Sunday? But obviously, this is qualifier race number 1. It is the Sunday Race Club for May, and we are in Colombia for the men as well.
We are indeed. So let's take you through the race route and through the course profile. And as you can see, the first 35 kilometers of this basically match the women's race. So if you've watched the women's race, you've got a good indicator of what is in front of our men, but it continues on upwards.
It does indeed. So 45 kilometres a day for our men's race, 914 metres of climbing, and that is 2 Category 2 climbs today. So the first Category 2 climb coming at 21.9 kilometres. It's 5.5 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 6%. Now the second Category 2 climb is a lot longer. It's 14.2 kilometres in length with an average gradient of 3.6%. Now the riders will see the checkered flag at the top, and I think that will be really, really wanted.
I think it will. And we've got to remember that those are average gradients, not the steepest sections. And we saw in the women's race, gradients going up to 10, 11% at times. So this is tough. Think not quite the gradients that we maybe see on something like a Wollongong circuit, but something more akin to the gradients that we've been seeing on something like the Jebel Hafit, which is sort of that 10, 11%. But these are long climbs. This is a long way up. Climb 1, 5.5 kilometers, Emma. Climb 2, 15K. So that makes 20 kilometers of climbing. Let's take a look at our riders in category number 4. A great race field in here, and it is great to see that we've got the return of the Red Furies team, who were so good in action in the racing earlier on. Finati and Bernot in there, but a real big packed full field of riders.
Yeah, 19 riders on the start sheets in category 4 today. Quadrelli is in there, Kamesh, Suarez, Acevedo, Agudelo, Cadabona. It is absolutely packed with really class riders, and it's going to be a really interesting race today.
And Michael Suarez, we know he can climb. We've seen that time and time again. If you haven't watched the MyWhoosh Championship, please guys go back and watch it. It's on Twitch TV as we are today, and it's also on the YouTube channel. Loads of great action in there. The team bringing lots of great camera shots and action, and Emma and I putting words to that. It was an absolute pleasure. And Michael Suarez really showed his climbing legs off at good effect in that. So you can see our riders lined on a race start. Michael Suarez is going to be the rider we're sitting in with at the moment. You can see top left-hand side is his details, top right-hand side is position on the course, and the right-hand bar just scrolling its way up and down at the moment. That shows that we are watching Maycol in the purple. So we are in to the last few seconds of start. Let's get them going.
So we are here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is May, it is qualifier race number 1, and the category for men are away. So off and out of the start pen, they come through and round and out onto the course. You can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen the other categories sat in their start pens as Ramos goes from the gun. Ramos pushing on and taking these category 4 men out of the start pen fast.
He has indeed, and we have seen him do this before. Renato Ramos clearly thinking, well, we could give this a bit of a kick and wind it up from the start. I'm not going to get caught out. Will he sit up and wait for the group? It's a long way to go solo, and it's a long old climb, but I suspect we're going to have a lot of riders chasing him. Good to see we've got Enrico Quadrelli in here. Now the Quadrelli brothers really did set the roads alight. The Italian duo were racing next to each other, and it was great to see both Filippo and Enrico in action over the past 8 days, 7 stages of the MyWhoosh Championship, but good to see him back in here as well. What state his legs in might be a different question, but we'll see. Some riders ride themselves into form, and some riders find that they ride out of form. Some people get more power and less weight, and some people basically just deteriorate, depending on what you have managed to do and how well you looked after yourselves on the way through.
Well, Quadrelli definitely hasn't disintegrated. He's gone out with this pack, and you can see, Matt, on the top right-hand corner of your screen, that satellite navigation image really showing us already how split this group is. Briodi, Villarda and Elos leading this category 4 pack out, but already split and numerous groups on the road.
Indeed, I think this is going to be, to a degree, how we're going to see the racing play out today, because we're going to have a lot of people at lots of different stages, a huge race field coming in. And if you are new to MyWhoosh Racing, then let's take you through the screens. Emma, could you just run us very quickly through what the viewers are seeing in terms of the screen in front of them?
Yeah, so on the top left-hand corner of your screen, you can see the stats of the rider we're currently watching now. That is Villarda at the moment. So currently 249 watts in black, indicating that the rider is not in the draft. Those numbers will turn green when the draft is invoked. Now, also the cadence and the heart rate there as well. On the top right hand corner of your screen, you will see the satellite navigation image, and on the bottom right you'll see the list of riders in the group.
So we could go into those maybe in a little bit more detail once we get all of our riders away. Let's jump in with category 3, the next of our set of riders to go clear. We're just in with Frederick Schauberg at the moment, who is sat on the start line. Now these riders are going to be heading out on to the course, and we've got in here people like Jack Staples, who proved he could climb in the Tour. Don't forget, of course, all of the results from the MyWhoosh Championships are currently subject to verification. That final verification expected to take approximately 14 days or so for getting everything in and running. So please, guys, make sure that you have a look on those results when they are verified. So Staples proving his climbing potential. We've got Filippo Quadrelli in here, Efrain Mamba. Anybody in particular catch your eye other than that?
Well, Eckersley is in here, so is Kennup and Phillips. Mark Dadson is here. Demanuan is here. Agudelo, Valencia. There's a lot of riders. Honestly, there are 30 riders on the start sheets today in category 3, and some really strong riders, some of which obviously rode the MyWhoosh Championships, others didn't. So it's going to be interesting to see what takes place today on the course.
Whether having fresh legs or whether having tired legs will be the effect, because it's a lot of recovery to get back up to your best as you go into the Sunday Race Club. So category 3, the next step up the ladder. Each of our race starts separated time-wise as we run through to give the category 4 the first start, then category 3, 2, then 1. Remember, of course, all the riders covering the same terrain. The riders can draft, so they can take advantage of sitting behind another rider or a group of riders, and that is across the board. So these guys will be looking to make sure that they can sit inside the draft of the rest of the riders. Let's see how this plays out. We are into the last 15 seconds or so. So here we go. It is qualifier number 1 in May. We have got 45 kilometers, 914 meters here in Colombia, and category 3 are go. We are away. The flag has dropped, the gun has gone off, the green lights have been flashed at the riders, and now they know that it is time to prove what they've got for today's Sunday Race Club. A reminder, prizes for the top 5 individuals in qualifying. But this is going to be a very tough day for some. Let's see who comes out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this category 3, Matt, a stacked field today. Now, always a really, really competitive field, category 3. And throughout May, we saw some of the riders in category 3 progress to category 2 because of the development that had taken place. But overall in April, bearing in mind there were 3 qualifiers and 1 final, 15 different riders finished in the top 5. So a phenomenal strength and depth, but also bearing in mind riders did move on.
So just riding in with Ramos, who seems to have been left out there at the front. I'm not sure whether that is his choice or the choice of the group behind, because it's one way to tire out a strong rider, let them attack, but then don't close them down. They're constantly having to push in to the wind. Now you can see, as Emma was talking about earlier, top left-hand side of the screen, his numbers are in black. That means he's not in the draft. Left of your screen completely in with the category 3, you can see Drummond at the moment. His numbers are green, and that means he is on the left side.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can notice the difference in those numbers. You can also see the difference in cadence at the moment. Drummond at 71, Ramos at 89. So huge difference in cadence from these 2 different riders, one in category 4, one in category 3. Now, Ramos, our lone leader at the moment in that category 4 race. The chasing group behind you can just see coming around the corner, but it's a huge group of category 3 riders in the front at the moment.
So 2 categories away, categories 4 and 3. You can see that the riders in category 2 have just over 7 minutes to their start time and just over 12 minutes to the start of category 1. So a little bit of a gap in here. It's twice as long between 3 and 2 on the Sunday Race Club. And as you can see, category 4, the leaders on the road going over one of these bridges. You can see the bumps on the profile top right hand side. Ramos still leading here, Emma.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, these bridges, Matt, there are a number of them, and you can see them on that top right-hand screen. 2 more coming up shortly. Now, they are an opportunity to push on, and that's exactly what we've seen here from Suarez. Suarez and Finati have used that section to push on away from the chase group, though mindful that it then moves into a flat section between bridges, and, of course, the draft then evident in the group, often allowing the group to come back, and that is what we're watching at the moment. So a push from Suarez there and Finati to close down Ramos, now all coming back together, bar I think 1 rider on the back, in the flat section between the bridges.
It is, and that is the dynamics, isn't it? And that's what you would see if you were watching a road race in the start of the Giro. That kicked off with an individual time trial yesterday, and we've also, of course, got the Vuelta Feminine, the women's Vuelta in action, and you can see when the riders are on the flat, that's where the draft has its most effect on the fast sections. So the flat and the downhill, that's when being in a bunch pays off. On the climbs, it has less effect, but it does still take effect, it just has less of it. So it is very much the dynamics you would see out on the road here in MyWhoosh. And very little gamification, if any. It is real speeds, real time, real gradients, rather than being a Mario Kart gamification with lots of different things to slip you up or to use as bonuses. This is giving you that true racing feel, and it can really be tough. I mean, having ridden on this in Colombia and ridden around these worlds, got to say it is absolutely stunning. And the only good thing is the scenery can maybe take your mind off quite how much it's hurting, particularly when you're racing in the race club. And look at this, Category 4 really are ripping this up.
They are indeed, and they're continuing to move, but it's Novella who has picked up the pace on the front. Suarez in 2, Elos in 3. It is Briodi who we are in with at the moment. So these riders pushing on, continuing to keep this pace high, you know, Matt. They're coming up for 6 kilometres into this race, just shy of 10 minutes of racing done as they move on to another one of the bridges here. Are they going to see, or are we going to see a bit of a push here on the front up this bridge? I think that is Briodi just kicking on the front there and just looking as though we're going to see a bit of a stretch here. It's Quadrelli picking up the pace.
Yeah, Quadrelli and Briodi here on the front of this group. The back of the group comes a distance by 5 minutes nearly at the moment. He's the last rider on the road in terms of Category 4. Meanwhile, you can see Category 3 left hand side of your screen, and they're just coming over the boardwalk, or rather than the bridge, just over the base of one of the waterfalls. There are many here in Colombia, but you can see that pack is much more compact. It is much more together in Category 3. It'll be really interesting when we get the time splits between the riders in Category 3 and 4 as they go in over the segments.
Yeah, so Category 3, one large group on the road at the moment now. 30 riders on the start sheets in Category 3 today, and a large number of those still in that leading group. It's looking like a steady, I'm going to say a steady pace from Category 3, whereas we have seen quite a different early race style from Category 4. We have seen attack after attack and riders getting dropped from the group. This group starting to whittle its way down, even though we've got a pretty steady, flat start.
We have indeed, and down on that start it is our Category 2 riders. Now the UAE Falcons back with us once again, Hamdan and Tanaji and Al Rumethri, as well as a big cast of individuals, and the man who took probably the narrowest victory in the MyWhoosh Championships, a certain Cam Winfield.
Yeah, that was indeed the final stage. He took that sprint by half a tyre width, I think, if we actually measured that. But Cam Winfield taking that final stage, one of our young riders in that competition on the start sheets today. But so is Parisi, so is Ospina, Carcajal, Cadiz, Moreno, Cusimano. I could keep going.
Baltazar, Proust.
Al Rumethri as well. You know, we know Al Rumethri climbs really well. So, 38 riders on the start sheets today. That is a lot of Category 2 men.
It is indeed, and remember, these race fields are growing. You've got to get your rides in, get the practice in on MyWhoosh. Make sure you know these courses. Get a ride on all of the different worlds, not just in Colombia here, but across all of the worlds. So Lula, across to Wollongong in Australia, to the Arabian world, and of course Colombian world. All these different settings out there and all the different courses, know how they feel, really key for when you're out and racing. So the men's riders in the pen for the start for our second category riders in Category 2, and I think this could be an absolute cracker today from these riders, because we've got riders in here. I mean, Ian Lloyd is in here, he took the Masters jersey. We've got sprinters like Carl Taiselius who can sprint, we've got people who can climb, we've got people who are good all-rounders. So I think this really is going to be up there. My tip for the top to be in the action, given that long climb at the end, Hassan Al Rumethri.
Yeah, he
could
climbs.
well be the man who climbs himself up into a top position.
He does climb well, doesn't he? But Category 2, again, one of our really competitive categories. So if I go back to the stats from April, We had 3 qualifiers and 1 final, 13 different riders in Category 2 in the top 5 across those 4 races. So the strength and depth in Category 2 is really there, really evident. In fact, Category 2 and Category 3, I think, are our most competitive races in terms of the number of riders trading top 5 positions.
And the stats don't lie. It's really easy, you know, there's down lines and statistics, but the statistics don't lie. The pure numbers are there. You don't need any manipulation to show you just how competitive that is and how many riders are in the chase and in the run. So Category 2 are lined up on our race start. They are our next group of riders, our penultimate group of riners away here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
So we are in with Winfield as the seconds tick down. His watts are still steady at the moment, but in that last 5 seconds, we expect to see it wind up. The heart rate is low and it won't be at the other banner at the finish. So Winfield and the rest of the Category 2 pack are away and out of the start pen. This is the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is qualifier race number 1 from May, and our Category 2 race are out and on the course. So whilst Matt and I both try to jump in at the same time, Winfield is in here with Doucette as well. Primero and Ospina are in the group. Cardenas, Baltazar, Bogren, all in this group. This is a good, strong pace. This Category 2 field up to pace very, very quickly. 36 kilometres per hour as they come out of that start pen, and all looking like they have rolled out of that start pen together. So whilst Category 2 were on the left-hand side of your screen, this is the group that were on the right-hand side of your screen. This is the Category 4 race. These were our first group of racers out of the start pen today, and they are in a pack coming through here. So Novella, Briodi, Kaluma, Suarez, Elos, Finati, Quadrelli, all in this group. They are moving through, but still together. This is a good, strong group of Category 4 riders, Matt, whereas we're starting to see some attacks in Category 3 and some of the riders now distanced off the group, and it's looking like Guven, Primero and Gonzalez here, distanced from the group ahead. And it is indeed that group as they lead up and move on to the bridge at 6.7 kilometres that in that Category 3 race is leading that group. So a group in Category 3 and a group in Category 4, but the Category 4 group is much smaller. The Category 4 group is looking like 9 riders now in Category 4 in this lead group.
So here we go, riders over the top, and you can see it over that bridge. Really interesting here. Another little kick, no surprises that it's Ramos who's winding this up. We are seeing riders just being distanced, having to come back in again, and this constant yo-yo in pace where we are seeing this acceleration, this break, this acceleration, this break. It is doing some damage. We are 17 minutes of racing in. We are approaching 10 kilometers, and we've seen a very quick destruction of the riders. I think this is going to be very, very interesting in Category 4 as we come on to the final climb, whose legs have taken the damage. So let's head across from Category 4, 3, 2 and into 1. They are our riders who are in the biggest race field. They're the cream of the crop. You can see that with us we have the Belgian Waffle Squad, we have the Beast Mode powered by Rose Squad, and of course the UAE Clan Team.
Yeah, we do indeed. 78 riders on the start sheets of Category 1 today. This is a massive field, and it is a packed field with world-class riders. So we've got Paradians in here, Hoyas, Nair, Mel, X100, Popovic, Knudsen, Vink, Dahn, Van Elst, Vujasin, Martins, Bjorkland, Osborne, Thiem, Graves. I could keep going and going and going, but you do not want me to name all 78 individual riders.
No, you don't. We didn't have the phone book, for those of you old enough to remember when it used to be contained on a big wad of paper. So our riders are a huge list. It's a cast of our regular Sunday Race Club and the championships, as well as lots of new riders as well. Let's take a quick reminder of the riders at the screen. This is really how the course will unfold. It's essentially flat with a few bumpy bridges on the way in and through. At 22k, we hit the first part of the climb. This is a Category 2 climb in its own little discrete section, and that is 332 meters of climbing. Then we go through the section which is the known as the flat rolling bumpy section, the FRB section. That is up to 31k, and then from there up to the very top of the climb, a further 503 meters of climbing. And in here, we have seen, I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler, key action in the flat rolling bumpy section. It is actually really, really key. So it's got its own name. So here we go. Sunday Race Club, qualifier number 1 here on MyWhoosh. Category 1, our final riders race start, and away they go. This huge bunch of riders all fighting it out for those top 5 prizes in the individual classification when we get to the top of the mountain. In here we've got new riders as well, so this is all about those riders getting a marker down. A quick reminder, Category 1 is the category where all riders join. You don't join on the easiest to then get to blat its pieces by being super fast. You jump in on 1, and then you will find your level through the course of the riding, the verification and analysis process that makes the racing so accurate. We'll be checking performances on all of our riders. It goes 24/7 pretty much to make sure the riders are there, as well as our team behind the scenes at MyWhoosh. So the final category of races away. Emma, quick, let's have a quick little think on the course, and in terms of this big bunch of riders, are we going to see a different dynamic here?
Well, it is really interesting, isn't it? Because we are looking at a course that is pretty flat until that 22-kilometer mark. In fact, only 69 meters of climbing in the first 22k. The rest
Say that again.
Only 69 meters of climbing in the first 22k. So we will be seeing the, I think, groups kicking on the bridges only, as we're seeing here. Mark Dadson just getting into a bit of trouble here on this Category 3 race. The pack pushing on, I think, over one of those bridges, and Dadson is the rider with the tired legs. So Dadson just closing the gap here to this Category 3 race. And this is the key parts on this first 22k. That is the small bridges. We're just coming up here to another one. I think if you take a look at this group, we'll see the group stretch, and it's the back markers coming off the packs in these early stages that is really important.
It is indeed, and we're seeing that on the way through. Really interesting. I just saw a shot whilst we were on our way through there of Hassan Sultan, who's now being promoted to Category 1. Another rider who has improved and has now made his way up to Category 1. So let's see how they go here. I think we've got riders starting to break up. They are going out along here, meanwhile coming back in the opposite direction after having completed their loop. They are the riders in Category 3 and 4. So busy roads here in Colombia. Now, one rider down the road, it looks like it is, oh my goodness, what a surprise. Phil Graves, I think, is on the attack. 6 seconds up the road. The ever-aggressive Phil Graves, the ever-present Phil Graves, he's at it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So Graves putting in a dig early in this race. We're not even 3 minutes into this Category 1 race as Graves pushes on. In fact, the pace now picking up a little from Mel back on the front of the pack. But the rest of the group not really doing much of the chasing. Martins is coming up onto his shoulder with Vujasin. They know the damage Graves can do, and they know he can stay away.
He can indeed, and Martin's coming off the back of the top with Mayor, with Grace. Interesting to see Jason Osborne very attentive up near the front of that group. He's looking like he wants to bring this back. And the attack by Graves on the front, I think he's starting to shed bodies on the back. He takes the left-hand turn there in Category 1. Category 2 going up over the bridges, and again a break in the group of the riders fracturing. Category 3, again, loads of pressure going on there. They're stringing out once again. And Category 4, well, they are about to enter one of my favourite parts of the course, because Category 4 are about to come through the long cave that is here in Colombia, burrowed into the side of the mountain, and they're going to be making their way in there. They're at the front of the race, but at the front of Category 1, Phil Graves, the man who over the past 2.5 years reckons he's missed literally a handful of Sunday race clubs on the attack, and it's Hassan Sultan, newly promoted up into Category 1, who is in pursuit here. He's putting down some numbers. He's holding Graves at the moment, and they're keeping Graves within 10 seconds due to the power on the front of this pack.
Yeah, so the pack now doing some chasing, but they are not chasing hard. Graves still able to keep out of the front there as they go past the waterfalls on the left-hand side. We're starting to see a bit of a stretch from the group now, and Cutler coming through. Sultan is there as well. So these riders now stretching across, and you can see the stretch on the top right-hand corner of your screen. We've got Graves out front, the lone rider. We've got the pack all stretched now out behind what is Cutler and co. We've now also got a rider off the back of that group as they run in and under the banner, but shortly they will start to come into the bridges. So Hassan Sultan is the rider leading the chase group, with Cutler and Hoyas Paradines is there as well. The rider they are chasing in this Category 1 race is Philip Graves. He is off down the road. He has already got a gap on this group, and that gap, well, will it keep extending or will it come back down?
I'm hoping it will come back down, heading on its way in through here, because I think I want to see lots more attacks. No, no disrespect to Phil. We know Phil is always going to go on the attack. He's a really aggressive, strong rider, and we're seeing that again and again now. Category 2, Esteban Martinez. He's the rider at the moment who's gone off the front of Category 2 by the look of it. Just going to take a double check on the numbers. He may well actually be off the back. He's the first rider who's going to see this group. They are closing down very quickly.
They are indeed, because it is a fast and furious chase to bring Phil Graves back in. You can see him there just punching up over the bridge in front as this group coming, and he's going to be up and over the brow of that bridge before this group come onto the boardwalk. So Graves over the top of the bridge as the pack come in. The pack continue to push. Bjorkland at 7 watts per kilo. Osborne 2. Osborne just touching that. So is Sultan. Vujasin, Mare, Sprat, Huala are all in this chasing group now. It is going out to 12 seconds at the moment. So this is a strong attack from Graves. There's nobody in the picture.
There isn't, and I'll tell you something, this is really great racing, and the aggression on the front is making people hurt at the back. It's losing people out, and this is something that is really key, isn't it? The riders make the racing. It can be framed by the scenery, by the climbs, by the descents, by the twists and turns. It can have a soundtrack of myself and Emma putting words to the action, to the waterfalls and the rivers, but the riders are the ones that animate this, and this is what they're doing really in spade loads at the moment. And at the front of Category 1, Phil Graves has gone up, and interestingly, you've seen the likes of Sultan, Osborne, Martin's Theme, Vujasin up there. Who is noticeable by their absence until now? UAE Clan Team, and we're now starting to see Knudsen and Vink move the way up there, just starting to squeeze into this front of pack because they don't want distancing on a bridge. They don't want to get caught the wrong side of a gap, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So Osborne now up there as well. So is Paradines. Cutler is there too. These riders now ensuring they're on the right side of any break in this large pack, because I think we're going to start to see this pack split rather than potentially this pack bring back in Graves. Now, Matt, there are indeed 7 segments on the course today, which will give us an eye on the racing and the times for the gaps and whether they are being brought back down. Now, the first of those segments comes between 4 and 6.5 kilometres. It's a 2.5 kilometre segment. Our Category 1 riders on that segment at the moment.
They are indeed. We're in with Mr. X100 road captain for the UAE Clan Team, and as you can see, we are seeing splits on the road that are substantial, with substantial riders distanced as well. This is a really tough race today. Anybody who's feeling the effects, whether that is temperature, whether that is training, whether that is racing, they're going to be in trouble. But the group's starting to come back together behind Mr. X100 here. You can just see Evans Fat coming across, Luca Barla coming through. They are starting to squeeze on, and Mr. X100 just rolling up to the front. You can see the gap starting to open at the front. So as you go over these bridges, you get a compression coming into the bridge. You then see an expansion over the top, and then another compression as you land off the bridge over the river. Really, really tough stuff, and it's very quick from here into the next of our bridges. The riders are going to be on them very quickly. They are very, very swift indeed. This is why it's so tough. These little breaks in rhythm are just enough to start to separate out these riders. So the group from the UAE clan team are in here, and another big push coming on the front here as they make their way to the 6.5k markers that go in through the segments. And I think somebody's using it to try and get across here. So the gap has opened up. I'm not sure that was a push for the sprint segment. We'll find out.
Well, it is indeed. So we've got a bit of a push on the front, but the rest of the pack are now chasing. And it's interesting to see the dynamic in this race that these bridges are bringing. So taking a look at segment number 1, these are the overall results at the moment. So we see here Graves in 3 minutes 42. However, we've just had the pack come through riding behind Phil Graves in that Category 1 race. So this has now been updated. And actually, it's SS taking the fastest time through there. Now, Sultan, X100, Costa, Mayer, Smythe, Knudsen, Cutler, Osborne, Hoyas and Bjorkland 2 to 3 seconds slower than SS and Graves. Now, what that tells me is other than SS in that pack, you know, Graves has extended his lead by 2 seconds through that segment. Now, that is not a lot over a 2.5 kilometre segment. So the group seem to be maintaining the distance. It's not going out too much, but it's not being closed down.
And SS's time coming in there later and updating literally as we were watching, for me, indicates that he has come through and he is chasing. And is this why we were seeing Mr. X100 just dropping back? He's made his way back into the group. He's here in that pack. So he's made contact with the group, but he's just sitting at the back of that pack. Really interesting to see. Now, SS is wearing the blue cap and blue overshoes that we regularly see him in. Mr. X100 with a red banner. His teammate there had dropped back, trying to give him some advantage to come back in. Both very strong riders and both really instrumental in the team result, because whilst they are not necessarily going to take the victory, because that could well be somebody like Knudsen or Venka or similar in the team, what we are going to see is we're going to see him doing a lot of work now. Another attack going off the front in pursuit of Graves. It is going to be Jakob Bjorkland who's leading that out with SS, the rider who we are following, quickly marking that down. That's in Category 1 on the left of your screen, coming back onto our big screens here. And SS has gone onto the front. He's marked out Bjorkland, but Bjorkland is continuing to push.
Yeah.
So this is really good tactics here.
Yeah, Bjorkland going over the top, SS chasing back on. If these two work together, they may well move past this group if the group let them. But currently this group all coming back together again. You can see that concertina effect on that graphic on the top right-hand corner of your screen. So Graves down the road, the chase group working hard. We've just seen an attack coming from Bjorkland, covered by SS, but the group now bringing them back, and it's Jason Osborne coming back onto the rear wheel. Phil Graves is the rider down the road, and at the moment he is not in sight for this group.
So they are the riders in Category 1, Category 2, another long stretch in the group, Category 3 and 4. Small groups in there. Category 3 really is interesting because that group has stayed together in a big way. Category 4 at the moment, Finati and Ramos Novello working hard together at the moment, but very interested to keep an eye on those, as well as our Category 1 riders with Fink in the pack. should be, in theory, the man who could take top spot. He's going to have a real battle with Osborne, but at the moment, Phil Graves is making them all work for them dinner tonight.
He is indeed. He's 15 seconds clear of this group, and the group spreading across the road at the moment, indicating a very steady pace. I've just seen 2.5 watts per kilo from Vidal Mare. So this in the middle of this group, these riders having an easy ride. 2.6 from Cutler, Noren at around 3. Vink just kicked there. Vink kicked at 8 watts per kilo from that steady pace. He's kicking into that bridge, but he is being covered at the moment. So Vink is the rider who kicks. Martins and Vujasin have gone as well. Knudsen is covering the move. So is Cutler and Theme. Now Vink has gone on the attack here, chasing Phil Graves down the road. They've utilised this bridge for that kick as Vink is now caught by Martins and Vujasin. So Vujasin and Martins snowball over the top of Vink, making a 3-man leading group. But the group and the riders from behind are coming thick and fast, and they are going to close this down.
And this group that have just come back in, this dynamics, this stretch, break, reform, stretch, break, reform, this is doing damage to the riders' legs. And we find that attack there comes straight into this bridge as well, and it's just repeated. It's the second one, and you can start to see there is a danger that gaps will open up. The riders are aware of it, they are attentive, but not everybody will have the legs to go with this continually.
Well, and the danger is to those riders at the back of the group, Matt, not necessarily the ones at the front. The ones at the back have got to pay so much attention to this, because the second they think they're back on, the next bridge comes and the next kick comes. So the effort in making the chase across to the group and getting back onto the back of the group is negated by the fact the front of the group start to push again.
Well, a real interesting mix of this group responding and able to respond, as Emma's saying there, because we've got some of our really experienced riders. We've got some of the riders that we know are going to be in the fight. We've got one or two different names in there as well. Just seeing Rogerio Costa in there, a man who spends most of his time looking at people's teeth, actually an orthodontist. There you go, today's random fact about our riders. We do our homework, don't you worry. So here we go. Hassan Sultan with the fastest time through segment number 2, ahead of Nicholas Spratt, the man who took the mountains in category 2. Remember, the categories on Sunday Race Club to the championships different because it depends on the mix of riders in there. And the segment number 2 taken by Sultan moved up to category 1, as is Spratt. Martins in there, Hoyos and Co. And if you look at that, it is very, very close indeed. Smythe, Cutler, Van Els, everybody in the mix.
Yeah, other than Phil Graves, you know, Matt. Graves coming through with the 25th fastest time.
Ooh.
Yeah, at a 2:12. So 4 seconds down on Sultan. Now, he had a 16-second lead, so I'm thinking that is coming back down closer to around 12 seconds at the moment. But well, I think this is about the attacking going on from the group behind rather than the effort from Phil Graves out front.
I would not disagree with you in the slightest. I think that is all about that attack, the moves being made in there. Now, we've got quite a long stretch in between here and our next race section. So chance for this group to think about what they're going to do. Now, if we can take a look up the road, that would be really good, because I think we are going to see Phil Graves taking a look around him and thinking about what is he going to do. He's just about on the top of us, going around that right-hand bend there. And I think Graves is going to have to make some decisions soon, because this is a long way to go on his own. Can he possibly take this to the top? Well, it's possible, but it's highly unlikely. So, category 1 on the flatlands. Category 2 now into the long Ks. Category 3, they are at 20k, so they're not far from the climb. And at 21 kilometers, they are 1.5 kilometers in front of Santorio Ramos. Is about to head into that climb very shortly.
Well, it's interesting. We've got that picture of Graves on the screens in front of us, and he's gone past the back marker in the category 2 field, while we see an attack still coming from the pack behind. Now, that category 1 race, 1 leader, Graves, 24 riders in that chase group. Category 2 in the caves at the moment, we've got a large group at the front of that race. Category 3 and category 4 further down the road.
And this is the pace of category 1, bringing them in towards that cave complex. They're not actually all that far away from there. Michael Vink on the front here, 8.6 watts per kilo. he's clearly not feeling the after effects of taking all those stages in the MyWhoosh Championships day after day. And Jason Osborne looking good. He's always marking Vink. Wherever Vink goes, Osborne's sure to follow.
I think that's going to be a good battle, you know, Matt Osborne versus Vink. I think Knudsen could be in there as well, but you are right. Vink has the MyWhoosh Championships in his legs, but you know, I think he got stronger and stronger throughout that race, and
that's a depressing thought for everybody else,
and he's had a rest day, so what he can do today is going to be really interesting.
It is. I think it's going to go on the climb, Emma. I mean, I know you've got those 2-3 riders in your sort of list as being right up there with Vink and Osborne and Knudsen in there, but I think there is a degree that it is so long, this climb from 22k to 45. Basically half of the race is on the mountain with 2 distinct climbing segments in there. The riders, surely, if they go too hard now, they're going to be in trouble, and that's my worry. I mean, you know, Phil Graves, absolutely loving to bits. He's always aggressive, but how much time could he lose if he goes too hard now?
Well, all I can say is that the race director of the Sunday Race Club for MyWhoosh has given these men, well, those who race the MyWhoosh Championships, an absolutely full-on qualifier number 1 in May. But they are racing it full on anyway as Vink, Martins, Cutler, Vujasin and Osborne kick on. Knudsen is there as well. They are sprinting into the caves and they have got Phil Graves in their sights. So the gap now to Graves at 8 seconds. It is coming down. Cutler's doing the work at the moment with Vujasin, Osborne, Knudsen and Van Elst. Van Hoyos is in there as well. So is Paradians. They are pushing through now the fire-lit caves, the glow coming off the yellow jerseys as they continue to push on and push on hard in this Category 1 race.
And it's doing damage. We're seeing riders start to drift off the back of this group. It is coming down in size. There is no way that is 22 riders anymore. And that is just because of the sheer pace that's being put in, the continual kick, attack and pull back that has been going on. They are dropping people, and I'll tell you something, as we come through into the cave, it's a rise into the cave. We then get level boardwalk through the cave. We then come back out with a descent out of the cave, and this is going to be doing damage. I don't care how good you are, going this hard for this long is going to do some damage, and I think we are going to find a few people wanting when we come onto that climb.
Yeah, it is indeed. The ferocious start from this Category 1 race, instigated by Phil Graves, is going to leave some of those legs akimbo when they get to the mountain. Those legs are going to scream for some of our riders, but the motivation, determination and resilience is something that will take them to the top.
I think it will. I think they're feeling the effects. I'm feeling the effects for the first time in living history. I've actually sat down in the commentary box in the studio, dusted the chair down and sat down, because this is going to be an edge of the seats ascent. I think the racing looked at the course profile, thought, oh, it could be a steady run to the climb. Oh no, it hasn't. It's really gone for this. And Emma, I think some of these riders really are just loving racing. It's purely the love for racing that's spurring a lot of these riders on, because they've had a tough time. And whether you've been on the Sunday Race Club week after week, or whether you are in the MyWhoosh Championships, these guys know that it's going to hurt. It's going to be tough. You've got to love it. If you don't enjoy it, then you're really going to be in the wrong place.
A lot of these riders, Matt, are used to racing on esports platforms multiple times a week. You know, it's not just the Sunday Race Club they race multiple times a week, and they are used to that. Now, the distance is one thing that they rode on the MyWhoosh Championships, but they've just got stronger and stronger. And after the rest day yesterday, you know, perhaps rather than an 8-day stage race for a lot of these riders, it's 10 days with 2 rest days, because the Sunday Race Club is here, and they are absolutely performing as well.
They are. I'll tell you something, Rogério Costa, the man from Brazil, absolutely flying at the moment, looking very strong indeed. He's looking to get across the gap. He's pushed on, and you can see we are in with the bunch. The gap has opened. This makes 2 on the front. The gap is minimal at the minute, but I think for me, This has the potential to see another split happen and another chase back on, and maybe lose 1 or 2 people. We've come down off of the higher level of the boardwalk in the center of the caves. We're going to make our way out from that section, and it's essentially flat as we come out along over the water here, and this has stretched the group once again. They're trying to bring back the riders in front. Well, I think we're going to catch another of our category 2 riders here. They're going to come flying past. I think it's going to be Mancini. It's not going to be all that far, in fact, from Zanaska, Adriana Zanaska, one of our more mature riders racing.
Yeah, indeed. There's something for everybody.
I hope I'm as quick as Adriano Zanaska when I'm his age. That's all I can say.
Well,
I'm not there yet.
We have young riders, we have pro riders, we have all sorts of riders in this. There is absolutely something for everybody on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club with the 4 different categories. And this pack are absolutely giving viewers amazing racing to watch today. There is something here just for the viewers. You do not have to be a rider to enjoy the racing on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, but you can follow these characters, you can follow the riders, you can follow them racing hard, and that is exactly what they are doing at the moment. They have swept up the 2 back markers from that category 2 race. They are all together now, tight on the road as they come up to this right hand bend, and they will sweep round here and continue to move. This is segment number 3. Now, segment number 3 is a 3-kilometre segment on this course from 13.5 kilometres to 16.5 kilometres, and it is this category 1 group that are fastest through here. So Sultan setting the fastest time in 4 minutes 12 seconds. Costa, Walter, Spratt, Hoella, Bjorklund, Theme, Mare, SS, Ukla, Paradians and Van Elst rounding out the top 12, but that is all one group of riders. And as I just take a scroll down the screen, I'm just trying to do a time check to work out how many riders we have in that group, and at my count we have 23 riders in that leading group, 24 with Phil Graves as well. So 24 riders in the lead group of the category 1 race at the moment. They've gone through segment number 3. We're approaching segment number 4 now. Segment number 4 is the first 1 kilometre segment between 19k and 20k on the road. And it's going to be interesting to see if this group are all still together then. That is the run in to the climb.
So very, very interesting stuff here as we see category 1 on the way through. 1, 2, 3 and 4 all out on the course at the moment, and another dig off the front, another response coming. So we're seeing another move, and this is a big move because it's stretching out a long way very, very quickly indeed. You can see this group has gone from one big ball, one mass of riders, into being a long line. The rider they've gone off and after, I think, is going to be Michael Vink. It is. So Vink once again ripping it up, putting his foot to the floorboard, opening up the throttles, and Martins is the rider leading the chase behind it. You can see those numbers up in the red. We're talking nearly 9 watts per kilo to chase Michael Vink down. And if there's one thing we know about Michael Vink, is he can do this time and time again. And he's only the strongest that can stay with him after the repeated attacks.
Well, Jason Osborne is there, so is Graves and Hoyes. Van Elst and Paradians is in there too. As we've said, this is absolutely packed, this race field today, with quality world-class riders. Our Category 2 race field, Matt, I'm looking at that. Do you know they are not a long way down the road? It is looking like only 1.2, not quite 1.2 kilometres. It is that leading group in the Category 2 race. They are at just over 20 kilometres into this 45-kilometre race, and they are all still one group. Unlike the attacks we keep seeing here. Vink has gone again, Osborne is chasing, Cutler is too. These riders are kicking and kicking hard at the moment, Matt, because they are close to 11 watts per kilo.
And if they want to get Jason Osborne back, they need to take it in turns to pull him back, because the chasers will be able to take advantage of that draft. You saw that one long line, that natural evolution as the group stretched out. and then the gap's opened, and that is the dangerous part of this. If you are caught behind, you can be as strong as you want, but if you're not in the draft, you're in trouble. You can see everybody balling up together. Well, almost everybody. It looks like that big kick has done damage. Henry Oya out of the group. SS gone out of the group, and Hassan Sultan, after really pushing into that group and being able to hold them and indeed instigating some of the action, currently just distanced. Che Howeiler is up the road. He is also distanced now. So good to see Che back in with us on the Sunday Race Club with Hassan Sultan. But now the damage is being done, and if you are not in that group, the speed and the draft in that group is taking it at speed. All, of course, trying to follow the attacks. Now, interestingly, Michael Vick, not the rider on the attack this time. Another group going down the road. Have they sensed they've got a chance to put Vink in trouble? It could well be the case. Now, this is where the riders need to keep riding, because remember, of course, to qualify for our finals, you need to have certain criteria on the way through. Right, let's have a look at the standings on that segment number 4.
Yeah, they are indeed. So Cutler setting the fastest time from that Category 1 pack, a 1:19. As we roll through there, X100, Knudsen, Noren, Martins, Costa, Osborne, Hoyes, Bjorkland, Van Elst, Spratt and Mayer. Walter is there as well, so is Smides and Paradian. Nair is still in here as well, so is Graves. Christoph Thiem and Lionel Vujassin. Michael Vink, very, very comfortable in that pack, but this group that was 25, went to 24, is now 21.
So steadily losing riders, not at a prodigious rate. We're not losing masses and masses off the back. As you can see, that group going through very much all together. In fact, they're all across the road at the moment. So the group is across the road. They are spread from side to side. We're not far away from half race distance. Remember, half race distance is at 22.5k. with our climb starting at 22 kilometers. This is going to be very, very interesting. The skirmishes, the attacks, the chase backs continue onwards. Again, another big push here. The pace just being lifted in Category 1 there on the left of your screen. Category 2 is equally as enthralling, where the riders are now on to climb number 1 of the 2 categorized climb that make up our ascent of the mountain today. Category 2 climb has started for our Category 2 riders.
Well, our Category 2 riders, the distance is becoming down between Category 2 and Category 1. It's now at about 800 metres as our Category 2 riders' wheels start to go sideways, upwards.
Probably sideways as well.
There's no mud. Yeah, come on, it's esports.
I would be zigzagging my way up there, so it would definitely be sideways.
Well, you know, they're going skywards, but Category 3 at 25.03 kilometres, Category 4 at 25.19. So it's Category 3 who are going to see Category 4. In fact, they are mixed in with a couple of Category 4 riders on the climb. They are shortly going to catch the front of that Category 4 pack. So Quadrelli Suarez is there as well. It's an interesting group at the moment, but we're back to Category 1 and Category 2.
Well, just interesting to see that Category 3, I made it Florian Dromard, who had gone off the front. His gap was about 7 seconds, as I could see, in Category 3. So a solo rider in Category 3. Now we have the riders on the right-hand side. In fact, here we go. This is Florian Dromard. So it is Category 3. It's Dromard who's got the gap. He's got 38 seconds, nearly 40 seconds to the riders in Category 3 behind him. Now, we saw Florian Dromard on a astounding time trial in the Tour. We've seen him put in some big rides, Emma. We've seen him wear the polka dot jersey before, and we've seen him ride strongly on Sunday Race Club. He has sandwiched between him and the rest of the riders, the leaders in category number 4, Suarez, Elos, Quadrelli, and that is also going to be, is that Acevedo in between? I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's not forget, Matt, there's still nearly 20 kilometres to go in this race.
Oh.
So Dromard at 25.7k into a 45-kilometre race. He is leading the Category 3 race. He has caught the front of the Category 4 race and gone past them on the climb. On the left-hand side of your screen, we're seeing attack after attack continue in this Category 1 race to whittle down this field. In fact, Phil Graves and Nicholas Spratt, Wayne Smythe look like the riders to be out the back at the moment as X100 pushes on himself, Van Elst and Mayer having to work now hard to catch the back of that group, or they're going to see them disappear down the road.
And one of the things you'll have seen if you watch Sunday Race Club or you've been watching the championship, that Mr. X100 is a past master at pacing himself up a climb. So you'll see our climbers kick really hard. You'll see that aggression, that big kick. They will go clear, and then the chase is on behind. You can just see he's leading up a group of 3. They are chasing this leading group. And what is really interesting for me, Emma, is that it's not Michael Vick who's leading it up here. It's Michael Knudsen, a man who had an absolutely storming championship.
Yeah, so Knudsen pushes on. We know he's a great climber. He's got Vink, he's got Paradians, and he's got Osborne in here, let alone everybody else. So Knudsen stamping his authority on this climb early on, but Osborne and Vujasin and Hoyas are doing the chasing. Now, this is going to be a really interesting back end to this race. I say back end, we are only just over half race distance. We're at 23.2 kilometres. There is more than 20k to go.
I suppose it's back end when you go over half races, isn't it? It's got the back half.
Sort of.
I think you're dead right there, Emma. I think that is absolutely correct, because it is the back end, and that's where all the action happens. Let's face it, most of the time it's not the shiny up front thing, it's the people in the engine room behind who make it happen, and I think it's the back end of this race where the action will really unfold. And I think after we go up the first of our climbs across the flat, rolling, bumpy middle section, that FRB section, it's a very critical section where we have seen race-winning moves go. I think that's going to be critical coming into that last climb. And then on the last climb, I expect people to be losing, maybe not quite days, but definitely going to be losing a lot of time.
Well, currently losing time here. It's the Category 4 chase pack with the leader being caught by the Category 3 chase pack. So Florian Dromard, the leader in the Category 3 race, now 50 seconds down the road. This is the lead in the Category 4 race. So Quadrelli Elos, as the screen's changing in front of us, this is the lead in the Category 4 race being caught by the chasers in the Category 3 race. So 4 riders clear in the Category 4 race. Florian Dromard clear by 45 seconds in the Category 3 race, and this is the Category 3 chasing group now mixing with the leading 4 riders in that Category 4 race.
And don't forget, Florian Drummond out front, and you've got chasing groups behind us, substantial numbers of riders. But once that gap has gone, it's very difficult to pull back. Now, just taking a little look, it looks like Mr. X100 chasing. We're now up with line over Jasin. He is in the mix with the big group at the front, and Jason Osborne's presence here right up near the front means for me that you've got Vink up at the very front and Knudsen chasing hard behind. Indeed you do. So it's Vink, Knudsen, Osborne, Cutler, Hoyos, Costa. They are the riders in contention in Category 1, and they are rocketing past this group of Category 2 riders. You can see the speed that they're going. Now, Michael Vink and Michael Knudsen look very, very similar on their avatars as they come up this slope. Knudsen is the rider with the dark shades on there. Both shaven-headed, but it is the dark shades in second position for Knudsen. Behind, you can just see the white helmet of Osborne on his way up here. Now, Vink on that black bike going up on that black Colnago, just out of the saddle. He's keeping some serious power down here, 6.5 watts per kilo. He's got the lead, and it looks to me like everybody is scrambling for the wheels of Michael Vink, but they are holding him at the moment. So Hoyos, Osborne and Knudsen are the riders who are just about holding Michael Vick in check. They've got Rogério Costa not all that far behind. Tim Cutler doing a great ride here as well to be in with this chasing group. And Vink is not making much ground on them at the moment, but he's starting to fracture. So now we're starting to see riders going off the back of the group. We've got 5 riders together, and Rogério Costa is going to be the next one. So Rogério Costa has just found the pace a little bit too hot. He's got to regroup. There's plenty of time. You can see that we are on the lower slopes of the climb. You make your way up, it levels, it drops, it rolls, it's got a bump, then it drops back down again before you go up on to our final climb. So at the moment, Mr. X100's chasing group, right-hand side of your screens. You can see Van Els, Paradians, Mayer, Volta, all in that group. Then you've got the leaders, you've got Vink, you've got Osborne, you've got Knudsen, you've got the riders who are all in this fight with Tim Cutler and Rogério Costa just losing ground. Meanwhile, Mr. X100 continuing to push up here. We've seen him do this time and time again, set between 5.6 and about 5.9 watts per kilo, holding the pace up to the summit.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in with Michael Vink here, watching the back of this group. Now, is he watching this back of the group to put an attack in? I think he is, because look at that, 7.9 watts per kilo. Vink goes over the top of the group. We drop back in with X100 and Paradians. These 2 riders coming up the climb. They've got Mayer and Van Elst for company. So these riders now working their way through the category 2 pack on this climb. A little bit further down the road, it's Vink and Osborne, Cutler and Hoyas. Knudsen is there too. So 5 riders now clear in this category 1 race.
So 5 riders at the front, the chase is on behind, the riders working their way up and through. No surprises that Mr. X100 is in with that chase pack, but they are all aware of his pacing abilities. And I think a lot of the other riders from the rest of the squads are sitting in with him. Now, this is the lead group. We're in with Michael Knudsen at the moment. Cutler, Hoyos, Osborne, all in this mix, but interestingly, Vink went to the back. He's now pushed right through to the front at 8 watts per kilo. He's starting to open up the gap. We're going to come into this tight right-hand bend here. We're at 25.9k at the front of the race. Everybody else being distanced. But what is really interesting for me, they are picking off riders in categories 2, 3, and 4, but they're not making that much ground yet. We've still got a long way to go, but I think they've got to say well done to the riders in categories 2, 3, and 4, because category 1 have closed them down. They are coming up towards them, but everybody has raced fast today.
Well, everybody has raced fast today, and Vink just drops to the back of the group. But we are seeing now the group move on. Rogério Costa now 17 seconds back, further back to Vujasin, who I think is the next rider on the road. This group are absolutely dominant, Matt. They are dropping world-class riders on this climb at the moment, and there is still a long way to go in this race today.
There is. I mean, we're talking about this and we're getting excited like this is the race finish. We are not even at where the women's finish was. That was at 35k. We're not at 30k. We are at 25k, 25.9k into the race. That means that we still have just under, waiting for this 20 kilometers to go. This is going to hurt. There are going to be some very sore people at the end of the racing. So whilst the action's on, Emma, just a quick update from you. So it's been a very busy time for us through the period of the racing here on MyWhoosh, through the championship and on our way through. We've got lots of great racing to come. We're here for the championship. We're here for the Sunday Race Club. We've also got a few other things where people can catch us out. They can catch us on the Mountain Bike Eliminator. That was actually out in Abu Dhabi last year, the XCO. Also going to be in action for the BMX. They've just had a round actually in the United Arab Emirates of the BMX Europe Cup, the Europa Cup BMX out there in the racing. We've also going to be bringing you lots of action from things like the World Championships and from the mountain biking. So do please get in touch. If you're out and racing, we know lots of our riders cross over. Camwell Winfield crossed over and he was racing on the championships, and he's actually a mountain biker we may see in action in Scotland.
If you are any of our riders and you are going to be at the World Championships in Glasgow this year, drop us a line and let us know. But it's watching at the moment on the screen. Oh, well, I've got to mention it, Matt, because X100 is doing his thing. He is absolutely time trialing his way back to the group. So phenomenal riding yet again from X100, the consummate time trialer, setting the pace on a climb, regardless of what everybody else is doing. He's got Mare and Paradians for company. But this is a group down the road: Vink, Hoyas, Cutler, Knudsen and Osborne.
So he's on his own way, trying to chase down this group. Another kick up on the front from Michael Vink here. Now they are entering the segment number 5. Florian Dromard has set the fastest time through it of 12:35. I suspect that is going to be somewhat eclipsed by the time of the leaders in category 1 who've just entered segment number 5. A quick reminder for you: segment 5, 4 kilometers long. So it's the top end of the first part of the mountain. So we climb the mountain from the bottom towards the top. We have the first step is category 2 climb. The first of our climbs, it then levels off. And when it levels off for just over 3 kilometers, it then kicks again, going up towards the top.
Yeah, it was indeed. So the segment there for segment number 5 finishing at 27 kilometers. X100 and his group now coming up to that banner. So it is indeed segment number 5. Segment number 6 is further up the road. That's a 1 kilometer segment, and we can see Florian Dromard has already been through there. That gives us some indication of how much further Dromard is down the road, and that is the front of the race.
So here we go, the riders coming in with 600 underneath the banner. Let's take a look at the timings as they go through. So the time for Dromard of 12:35 are well and truly eclipsed by all of the top 8 riders there. I suspect that is going to really be a faster time set by Vink. 9:21 gives you an indication of just how quick he was up there. But very interesting for me here, Vujassin is not that far off the pace. It's 39 seconds, but it is our leading group of Vink, Hoyos, Cutler, Osborne and Knudsen who have really blasted that time apart. Mr. X100 is Stefan Van Els just coming into the mix at 1 minute and 4 down. But remember, this is on the top of the slopes here. We have still got more climbing to come. So back in with the action. These are the chasers coming in to the bridge up here. So this takes us over the top of the climb and into that really key section of the race. And the section is basically from where they are right the way through to where our leaders on the road are. The leaders on the road are about to start the second climb of this mountain, the second part of it, the upper section of the mountain. You can just see Mr. X100 here on the descent here, 55 kph, and this is the flat rolling bumpy section. It basically flattens at the top, it rolls down. You can see we've got that big roller in the middle, and you've got a bump towards the end of it before it kicks down again, and then a rise up. So a very, very technical section where having the power and the modulation to be able to use that power is key. And we've got to remember, these riders have been climbing for a long time up there. I mean, that segment alone was 9 minutes. So we're talking sort of a 20-minute climb on the climb. You come out of that, you've got this bumpy section running through, this rolling section. Then you go on to this next part of the climb, which is nearly 3 times as long.
Yeah, and Florian Dromard is currently the leader on the road at the moment from our category 3 race field, coming up 32 kilometers of the race under the wheels. The group on the left hand side of the road is the chase group in the category 1 race. 5 riders here. This is X100, Paradians, Van Elst, Mare and Norren. They are going to sweep up Vujassin next, who is 35-40 seconds down the road. They've then got Costa to pick up, and then it is the lead group of 5 riders.
Well, let's see if that's still 5 riders. The charge being led by Mr. X100 round this corner. Just whilst Evan was just keeping an eye on the action there, I was just double checking some of the time gaps. Currently, it's 1 minute 20 from Drummond to the chasers behind him in that category. Really interesting now. Michael Vink on the attack. He's got 5 seconds. 5 seconds between him and the chasers behind. Really interesting that he's pushing through this technical section. It's really key.
Yeah, it is indeed. And the chase is continuing on behind. Costa is the next rider behind the lead group. Then Vujasin. This group of X100, Van Els, Norin and Paradians continuing to push on. In fact, X100 starting to drop that group as he continues at almost exactly the same pace. It will be Vujasin that he'll be picking up next. But the riders in that lead group now under attack from Michael Vink.
So Michael Vink on the front on the attack, pushing clear of the group. This X100 just starting to push clear of the chasing group behind on the way up the climb. Riders scattered all the way over this mountain. Remember, we are of course focused on our leaders and on the battles in the top 10 in each of our categories. But we have riders all the way down onto the flatlands at the bottom, depending on what they're trying to achieve today. And that could well include being just getting a qualifying ride in. So we talked about the riders having to do certain things to get in the finals. They have to get 2 qualifying rides in our qualifiers. 2 rising in the qualifiers. If they do that, then it depends on their performances, but they should be in with the chance of being in the final. But you won't make it to a final without those 2 qualifying rides. Now, Mr. X100 in pursuit here. You can just see segment number 6 complete. This is through the section from 29 to 30k. So this is the last part of that flat rolling bumpy section. And Vink taking that fastest time, 3 seconds quicker than Hoyos, 4 than Cutler, 4 seconds to Knudsen, 5.6 to Mr. X100, and nearly 6 to Costa. Vujasin at 9 seconds through there. And this is where the riders were able to push if they were strong. And I think you're seeing realistically it's starting to become a very clear picture of who is going to be where because of the time splits, not on the climbing section, but on this really tough section in between. Great riding by Vink up at the front. The rider who's moved up through the standings on that climbing stage 100, we've seen a fair bit of on the way up. You can see the 2 riders on your screen now. It's X100 right hand side of your screen, Vink on the left. Vink has pulled himself up to 20th position in the race overall. You can just see that Mr. X100 currently sitting in 31st place, so separated by about 11 riders on the road at the moment.
Well, 11 riders separating the Category 1 pack, but the race is still on in all of our other categories as well. Category 4, Category 3 and Category 2, as well as this Category 1 race. Michael Vink pushing on here now at 13 seconds now clear of Knudsen, Cutler and Hoyos. Now this is a concerning attack here, and it's concerning for that group of 3 because I think this could be it.
It could indeed. We're coming into what is the final section. So we've talked about this climb up the mountain to the checkered flag at the top. The first part of the climb is Category 2 section. We've seen them complete that. You can see from the top of Category 2 to that 31k marker, that flat rolling bumpy section, that section in the middle where the riders have seen Vink push on, really showing those time gaps. Then you've got the big long climb up 14 kilometers. And if there was one man you wanted on your team to solo his way to the top, Michael Vink would be the man that you would choose for that. For me, what's interesting is that of that group behind Vink, nobody has been able to take the initiative and to break clear. So you've got Cutler, you've got Hoyos, you've got Knudsen in there. and they are not closing down on Vink. If anything, the gap is going out.
Well, my heart's going out to those Category 3 and Category 4 riders that Vink has just charged past, because how soul-destroying for them. They are riding a strong ride in that Category 3 and Category 4 race, but Vink, just showing the class that he is, comes up onto their rear wheels and just goes straight past them. Manga is the rider in the Category 3 race he is going to see next. And it is just a continued charge now to the finish line. But it is still a significant way to that finish line. We're still looking at 12 kilometres.
So it's 12k to go, and I think Michael Vink really doing what demoralises anybody. We all know what it's like. You think you're going really well. You're tapping out a really good rhythm on a climb. You think, I'm going smooth, I'm going good, you're in a really good place. And then somebody will come alongside and almost go, hey up, how you doing? Keep going. And they'll ride past you.
Oh,
and
it's a Beryl Burton moment.
Oh, it is, and it just is so demoralising, because you think you're going well. And this group of riders we've got on our screens, I mean, we have got class riders in here who have animated the racing in the Sunday Race Club and on the championships. And the riders coming up this climb, they know that coming up behind them, Michael Vink, currently in 15th place, is absolutely rocketing up that climb. The moment Emma's talking about, that sort of coming past you, Beryl Burton, for those people who maybe don't have the same level of history or background, she's one of the most, if not the most impressive riders ever. A rider who would eclipse men in the time trial scene and in the road race scene on the continent a few years ago. Comes from Morley in Leeds. I was lucky enough to race and ride, in fact, with her niece. Was in my cycling club for a little while. But I tell you something, she was phenomenal, and she used to ride past people, and I'm sure there is a very, very famous tale. Was it Jelly Babies, a sweet?
Or a licorice all sort.
Licorice all sort. So she handed up a sweet to the leader of the men's race at the national championship as she passed him and beat him substantially. That was the level.
Just to make a notice that she held the world record, or does hold the world record, for the 12-hour time trial, which she set in 1967 at 277.25 miles, which is faster than you, isn't it, Matt?
It's further than me in 12 hours by about 30 miles.
And were you not 11th in the men's race?
That was the national championship. So my furthest ride in the 12 hours at a national championship, and I was top 15. I was 11th. The win went at about 290 miles, I think. But bearing in mind, this is 30 years, carbon fibre discs, tri-bars and aero helmets. After Beryl Burton set it on a drop handlebar bike. Now, will we see Mr. X100 passing out to Licorice All Sorts on his way up past the riders? Will we see Michael Vink doing that? That would be really nice, wouldn't it? Maybe that's the next of the gestures our riders can come in. We see the riders in the game, and you can do this as well. When you're out riding, you can do the gestures. So you can do the lightning bolt celebration. You put your arm in the air as number one to take the victory. You can do this through and off. We just need one which basically is handing over some sweets. It will be the Beryl Burton gesture on MyWhoosh, because that's the handing up sweets as you go past people to give them some more energy and help them go quicker. Let's see if that's going to happen. You never know. I can live in hope.
I think nutrition companies have taken over from sweets now, but
they have.
But I do know a number of very strong riders who still result to sweets over gels. But we've got X100 here continuing to time trial his way up this mountain. He's continuing to close down now. You know, Vujasin was at around 40 seconds, now at 22. So X100 is going to see Vujasin, but he's got Dadson and Staples from Category 3 in between them at the moment, as we take a look at where their differences on the course is at the moment, because this is Michael Vink. He's currently leading the Category 1 race. So he's currently leading that Category 1 race. Cutler into Knudsen is with him as well. They've got company with Hoyas, so it's a three-man chasing group. This is Dadson and Staples, who are going to see X100 come past them shortly. Now, these two riders putting in strong performances week after week in this Category 3 race. X100 now past them. Vujasin is the next rider they are looking to see. But Vujasin then, it's Jason Osborne, the next rider up the road. So the question is, can X100 time trialing way back into the chase group? So we've got MyWhoosh, we've got Cutler, and we've got Knudsen now. I'm taking a look and trying to see the time splits at the moment because I think it's Knudsen who's in trouble on the back here, but Knudsen pushing on. So Vink has got 9 seconds on this chasing group. So Vink, 9 seconds clear of Hoyos, Cutler, and Knudsen. They've just gone past Michael Suarez. Bernard Mangat as well is back. Then Rogerio Costa. Then we know there's Vujasin and Paradians on the road before we get to the chase coming from X100 and that time trialing. So this race, whilst Vink's got 8 seconds, I'm not sure it is over yet. There is still just over 9 kilometres to go.
There is 9k to go, but what really has surprised me is that Jason Osborne is not only not in a battle with Vink, he's not in a battle with Hoyos, Cutler and Knudsen either. Now, Jason Osborne is the rider who has won repeatedly. You saw on our rewinds at the start of the show, he's a man who has come back and taken victory after victory. At the moment, it's not happening. He's not in the mix, and he has been racing hard, but he's not been right up there. Now, Juan Hoyos sat on the back of this group. Tim Cutler making the running with Michael Knudsen. Now Hoyos goes over the top. So you've Hoyos in the black helmet. You have got Cutler in the white helmet, and you've got Knudsen coming up behind with the shaven head. They are your 3 chasers behind Vink, and this is where that fight for positions is key. We have prizes down to 5th place in our top 5 riders in each of our categories. So the riders know that if they want some of the prize money, they've got to be top 5. Vink's in 1. You've got Knudsen, Cutler and Hoyos taking 2, 3 and 4. At the moment, Rogerio Costa is in 5, but the chase is on behind.
Well, I think we ought to give Osborne his due, with riding Flèche Wallonne, Liège, Bastogne Liège, then the Tour of Romandy. I think he's got a lot of miles in his legs at the moment. So we could really do with him pushing on and continuing to ride up this road at the moment. But Cutler, Hoyos and Knudsen are the riders here with Vink out front.
And I think he was on one of his home races, wasn't he? He was on the Eschborn-Frankfurt race as well, just before. But I think he's done a massive block. He may well be that he's had a rest week or so just to get some recovery done. And it is one of the things, when you are racing, it's very hard to train to improve, isn't it, Emma? And that's why you either race yourself fit, and some riders are better than that. I was always better at racing myself fit. I don't know about you, Emma, but that worked for me. Some riders need to train themselves fit and stop racing.
They do indeed, and sometimes we see riders deliberately scheduling training blocks in the middle of the race season to target particular races. But Osborne here pushing on. So Osborne here just coming up on to the back of the rider in front. So Jason Osborne pushing on up this climb now.
He is, and I think this is going to be Rogerio Costa. I'm just going to take a double check when we get a little bit of a view on that screen. They've got the little bit of gap, but you can see that they're working together as much as pushing on us and overtaking. They are trying to keep clear of the chase behind from Mr. X100, and at the moment they are doing that, and that is opening it up. There are still about 4 places separating Osborne from Mr. X100, and there is time on the road. This is a long, gradual climb. They are currently separated by about 300 meters as they make their way up this slope, as they try and make their way up to the top of the climb. And you can just see Vujasin is behind them by 20 seconds, which means it's about 35 seconds to Mr. X100 behind Osborne and Costa. They're the 2 riders in front. So Rogerio Costa and Jason Osborne. So Rogerio Costa in exalted company with the De Koenigs rider right with him. The very front of the race, Michael Vink in terms of category 1. He's well on his way up through this race field as well, but not quite in the very front of the race, I don't think. Not the last time we saw.
No, last time we were looking at the lead of this race, Vink had 8 seconds to the chasing group, and the chasing group of Knudsen, Hoyas was there as well. So it is going to be really close. Cutler was there too. So Vink currently leading now, coming up for 37.5 kilometres into this race. Florian Dromard still the leader on the road though.
Florian Dromard is absolutely putting one down today. A great performance by him coming up through the race and looking like his attack, his push on the front was really trying to stretch the group out. He's managed to do that on his way up and through. Now the riders are making the way in to the final of our segments here, because you can see they've just come through the 37-kilometre marker. And when we get out of the other side of that, that's in 5 kilometres time, we'll get an indication of who is climbing best towards the top of the climb.
Yeah, this is a 5 kilometre segment that is all uphill. When we get to the end of segment number 7, from 37 to 42 kilometres, there is 3 kilometres to go to the finish line.
And we've just seen the riders coming underneath the banner. We're now watching Mr. X100 time trialing his way up towards the finish, and he's now hitting that self-same segment. So these riders all working hard. The top 20 now into that final segment or further, and look at this.
Vink has just taken Dromard. So at 38 kilometres into this race, Florian Dromard has been our leader on the road for some time. The Category 3 rider came through the Category 4 field, has picked up the lead on the road. All credit to Florian Dromard for staying clear for so long, but Vink making the catch just shy of 38k into this 45-kilometre race. So Vink in 1 on the road, Dromard in 2 on the road, Knudsen in 3. He's got Cutler and Hoyas for company. They are 23 seconds behind Michael Vink. We've then got second in the Category 3 race, Kochev. And there, it's changing on my screen. We've obviously got a pack of riders in that Category 3 race a little bit further down the road. They are separating Costa and Osborne and Vujasin. In fact, there are a smattering of Category 3 riders all throughout the front of this Category 1 race. It's looking like Enrico Quadrelli is the rider who is currently leading the Category 4 race with Elos.
I think we're about to see the catch here by Mr. X100 on to Lionel Vujasin. They've come past Quadrelli. Quadrelli did an amazing job there. That is a fantastic battle in that Category 4. And I think it's all due credit to them, because they've managed to keep most of this Category 1 pack away to this point, Emma. And what I'm also liking is, if I'm not much mistaken, I think Elos is Czech Republic, if I've got to get my flags right here. We've got Quadrelli in there from Italy. We've got Colombia represented in that battle. Really good fight there on the way through, just working our way up and through. I'm just trying to spot the flags, because it's a little difficult on our screens, I must admit. So if I've got your country wrong, I apologise now. But message us, let us know. Matt Fixer Payne, Biking Emma on Instagram. Message us over, tell us what country you're on. Our screens don't always show us, or we don't focus probably fast enough on our screens to be able to get those. So Florian Dromard just being overtaken for our race lead.
Look at this. This is Osborne and Costa having a Sunday ride.
Yep, it certainly
side
is.
by side, sharing protein bars, having a chat.
Licorice also.
Yeah,
no,
tapping it out on that climb.
Okay, so 4 categories on the road. Category 1, the lead on the road, it is the rider that is Vink, who's up the road now. Category 2 fight is an absolute battle, and they are having a real ding-dong fight in between each other. Florian Dromard leading Category 3, a man who is a black belt in judo from France, living out in the UAE. In fact, he's a mixed multi-martial arts specialist, so he can certainly throw the moves down. He's got to keep on doing that for a long way. Yeah, it's a lot longer than any fighting rounds he's going to have put down in that, because this is still a long, long climb. Category 4, Again, we've just seen that battle. It's Elos and Co. with Quadrelli in there. Now we're in with Jason Osborne. He's got a fight here with Costa. This is a real battle here. I'm absolutely loving the fact that Rogério Costa has not been bowed or kowtowed by the reputation of Jason Osborne, and they are kicking on. Do you know what they have at stake here? If they could catch Hoyos, who is been dropped from the leading group, they have the opportunity to move into the top 5, but they've got to watch out because the red bandana Mystics 100 is also closing in, and he's holding a big old pace.
Well, there is the question here. This indeed is a fight for 5th place at the moment, and it is absolutely anybody's further down this mountain. Vink has gone clear. We've then got Knudsen, we've got Hoyos, and we've got Cutler.
Yep.
We've then got Costa and Osborne fighting for 5th place at the moment. And X100 time trialling his way back up with Lionel Vujassin onto Costa and Osborne. So this is all to play for in this last 5 kilometres. Whether you are at the front and you are Michael Vink, whether you are in the chase group, you are Knudsen, Hoyos and Cutler, or whether you are Costa, Osborne, X100 or Vujassin, this is actually coming down to what could be a really interesting final 5 kilometres.
I think so. And just seeing the 2 riders here, we've got basically Vink leading. You've got Cutler and Knudsen as a pair. You've got Costa and Osborne as a pair. You've got Hoyle sandwiched in between. They are all over the road here. Michael Vink, though, now goes past the 40-kilometre mark. He's heading towards 41 of our 45 kilometres. So he's down into the number of kilometres that will fit into one hand. He's looking good. He's got the gap.
Well,
he's being chased, but they are chasing hard.
Yeah, Vujassin and X100, 20 seconds down on Costa and Osborne, and that is their target. They are working together. We've seen X100 on the front. We saw Vujassin come through. X100's gone back onto the front there. Vujassin pushing just to get back on his wheel. If these two can work through and off and work together, they can indeed, I think, get back to Osborne and Costa in the next 5K.
Well, that is going to be interesting. 5K to go. We have 5 prizes up for grabs, but we've got a lot more of them. 5 riders in that mix. Remember, mixed in with the riders in Category 1 is Florian Dromard, who is really starting to pay the price. I think Dromard needs to pick this up now because he's got Kochikov behind him, and all of that group are not that far behind. I make it that they are at 1 minute at the moment, but as we have said, you can lose not just seconds, not just minutes, you can lose a long time. And it's Dromard here now just taking a little bit of a rest because Costa and Osborne are on the way, and he's seen them coming.
Well, I think Dromard is tired because looking at his watts per kilo at the moment, he is up, down, on, off. But we've just seen a 0.9 watts per kilo, 1.2, 2, 3.9. He's now pushing on again. This is really fluctuating stuff from him. He's pushing on, dropping off, pushing on, dropping off as he tries to get to the finish line of this race today. So Florian Dromard putting in an amazing race in this category. 3 races. He just comes off the power. He's just pushed on the power again. This on-off fluctuation, a really interesting tactic from Dromard. He's desperately trying to hang with these riders as they come past. It's not going to be possible for Florian Dromard, but he needs to stay clear of the chase behind in that category 3 race. He has got a substantial gap, but it is still 4K to go.
Yeah, 1 minute 4K. That's what he has to hold on to get in there now. Michael Vink is coming up to 3K to go because he is going to hit the end of the segment. He'll be the first rider to set the time through our final segment. Now, he continued to extend his lead up here. I suspect he has. He's sitting at a very good pace, but we've got some fast charging riders behind who are working together. And the speed on this mountain, we are talking of about 30k an hour. This is still quick, and there is still advantage on having that draft.
Well, there is indeed. The gradient is at 3.4%, 3.5%. This is not particularly steep. This is just long. and it's and that is why we are seeing the pace of the riding at this level. So 29:30 kph at the moment. We're watching Costa at the moment. He is riding here in with Osborne. Vujasin now an X100, just 13-14 seconds back. They are closing in. So Vink in 1, Cutler in 2, Cutler with Knudsen side by side. Then we've got a gap back to Hoyas, a bigger gap, a huge gap actually, of over a minute back to Costa and Osborne. X100 making the charge with Vujasin onto the back of those two riders. So 1 clear by 20 seconds. Then we've got the further gaps throughout the field, but riders coming thick and fast from the back up this climb.
They are indeed, and I think it's going to be a really interesting run for the finish as they come in, because this is a real fight. And remember, although we've got number 1 clear, that is Michael Vink, Tim Cutler and Michael Knudsen have been absolutely tied. Now, Emma, you're keeping your eyes on the scores on our segment. What have you got for us?
I am. Well, Michael Vink going up there at the moment on that 5-kilometre segment, 9 minutes 41, but only 5 seconds, but 4 seconds back, 5 seconds back to Cutler and Knudsen.
Wow.
So Cutler and Knudsen losing 5 seconds to Vink over that 5 kilometres. Okay, we've then got a gap back to Hoyas, a much more significant gap of just shy of 20 seconds. So Vink, Cutler, Knudsen and Hoyas currently the fastest through. What's going to be really interesting is to see what happens in terms of the riders chasing behind.
Well, I think they're going to just come up onto our screens here now. Here we go. So look at that. Very close indeed between Cutler and Knudsen, but they are keeping clear of Mr. X100, Hoyas, Vujasin, Osborne and Costa. But of those riders, Osborne and Costa have lost a bit of time there, haven't they, to Mr. X100, Lionel Vujasin and Hoyos in there. So really, that tells the tale of the that section. And really good to see at the moment, Florian Drobard, he's 9th on the road, he's just come through.
Yeah, he has indeed, but that is about the story about X100 time trialling up this mountain. He didn't bother about being dropped, he picked his pace and he has continued and he has picked riders up on the way, which is why he is setting one of the faster times.
He is indeed, but nobody's matching Michael Vink and Michael Knudsen and Tim Cutler. They have the 3 fastest times, and that shows just how classy they are and how fast they are going. So Vink, Knudsen and Cutler. Michael Vink, our leader at the moment, now comes up towards 44 kilometres. He's got just over 1 kilometre to go. You can see the twists and turns are getting tighter, but there is more blue sky above our rider because he's coming up towards the summit here in Colombia. He's on his way and it levels across the top. So be aware, it levels across the top. Now, this is going to be instrumental. If I was a rider behind, I would be watching the feed because I would know that if you're not at the very front, we are going to cover the front, and this is going to be telling. Meanwhile, 2nd and 3rd place, we're just seeing a split. Emma just waving frantically at me. 2nd and 3rd place are broken, and it's Michael Knudsen who's got a gap on Cutler. Cutler's trying to respond to it. But this is Michael Knudsen, the man who basically took over Michael Vink's mantle when Vink was absent and did it in such style. He's now into 2nd place and he's clear of 3rd.
Yeah, he is indeed. So Vink in 1, 17 seconds back, Knudsen in 2. Then we've got a gap of 10 seconds back to Cutler. Then it's around a 35-second gap, which changing and is fluctuating dramatically back to Hoyas. Then Jason Osborne with Costa on his wheel. It's a big gap back to Vujasin, and we know he's got X100 with him.
He has indeed. So here we go. Vink on the right-hand side of your screen, Knudsen on your left. And Knudsen has done a great job, not only of holding Vink, but of keeping his cool whilst Tim Cutler was all over him.
Yeah, so Vink now with 500 metres to go. Vink in 1, Knudsen in 2, Cutler in 3, Hoyos, Osborne, Costa. X100 fighting with Vujasin lower down the slopes as we go into the final 400 metres.
So here we go. This is it. This is the run for the line for Michael Vink. Everybody else will be watching to see what it looks like because everybody else has a company on the way up here. You can see the battles are mano a mano as they come up around these turns. The gaps are not opening up though. And Michael Vink is your race leader, who will see the line first. He comes round the right turn. He's going to come round the left. He will line up for the gantry. And this is a cruel, cruel finish here in Colombia, because you can see the gantry is going to come just as it levels. Vink out of the saddle. He's at 61 revs per minute. He went clear. He's climbed the mountain alone. He's going to come up through the line. Qualifier number 1, your race winner, it's Michael Vink.
So as Vink comes over the line in 1, the fight for second is on us. Knudsen pushing hard. Cutler's on the chase. Cutler's in the distance, but Cutler is not on his wheel. So Knudsen pushing on now. Knudsen coming underneath the gantry, taking second. Cutler coming through, 6 seconds down. So Cutler takes 3.
So 1, 2, and 3 are home, with Vink, Knudsen and Cutler in that order. Great riding by them to get the fastest times on the top section of climb and reinforce the work that they'd done earlier on. Juan Hoyos has been the man in no man's land. He's almost been the forgotten man. He's been able to focus on his ride. He's going to come in for a potentially prize money winning position, because he's going to come in 4th place here today. He's on the right of your screen. He's on that sprint in to the line. So it's Hoyos who's going to come through. He's going to take 4th place here today. What a ride by Hoyos. He's beaten Jason Osborne. And Osborne, the pro on the World Tour circuit, he's going to be the next rider coming. Osborne will be the rider coming through in 5th place. The battles are unfolding behind. And you can just see Vujasin has opened a gap on Mr. X100, but 5th place into the line, it's Jason Osborne.
Yeah, so as Osborne takes 5th, Costa is the rider in 6th. He's 22 seconds clear of the charge coming from Vujasin behind. But that is not a charge to catch Costa. That is a charge to crack X100, because they've climbed the mountain together. X100 has made the catch as Costa sees the banner. So Costa is the rider in 6th place, coming through the line in the Category 1 race today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Qualifier 1 in May.
Now Lionel Vujasin there having the composure to hit the buttons and get those gestures out, giving us the I've done it. He has indeed. Lionel Vujasin got the gap. He's opened it. He's going to come in and across the line. So well done to Lionel Vujasin. He's going to be 7th. It's going to be an 8th place today after climbing through a lot of that race field for Mr. X100. Another great performance on a course and a climb that clearly he had the measure of. So it's Mr. X100 who's going to come through. I think that's in 8th place. It's going to be a 9th place for Johan Noren. Noren into these final turns here. We're going to take a quick check on those results. They're just on your screen. So it's Vink, Knudsen and Cutler. You're 1, 2, 3. And then it is Juan Hoyos in 4. Jason Osborne in 5. Rogerio Costa in 6th. Lionel Vujasin in 7. And Mr. X100 in 8th. And if you look at those time gaps, top of the hill, doing some damage. Average watts for Michael Vink on the race today, 406. I quite like that on a climb these days for a short one.
1 hour, 17 minutes of racing for our Category 1 race today by Michael Vink. Our Category 2, 3 and 4 are going to be out much longer, I predict, today.
And Johan Noren coming through ahead of them in 9th position overall as he comes in and through the line. Don't forget, make sure you are following all of the results, and they are live at the moment. They are on the site. It's www.mywhoosh.com. Now, I'm glad we're seeing Florian Dromard come home. This man put in a ride. He went clear. He bravely ascended that mountain at the front. He's a rider who we know will fight to the end, but today he's not going to claim top spot in the race overall, but he is going to be the top man when it comes in for Category 3. He's going to be, I think, inside the top 10 in terms of riders coming over the line. What a ride by Florian Dromard. There's nothing left in those legs.
Absolutely.
He is feeling the pace today. He's going to actually come across the line, the 10th rider in and across the line. That is a great performance. Oh, just beaten by Van Aelst. So Van Aelst in 10th, Drummond in 11th there. Now, this will change as the riders come through because it will be updated with their race time as they come in and through, but great riding.
1:36 for Drummond.
So I predict, as Emma, I'll go for a time. Emma said they'll be out there for some time. I think we're going to have riders out there well in excess of 2 hours today with this monstrous climb up the mountain at the end. Over half of the race distance, ascending the mountain here in Colombia, a world that you can ride as well. So don't forget, download the app on iOS, on Android, or of course on Windows. It's been qualifier number 1. I've been in the studio here with Emma Martin. Emma, what a way to start the racing.
Well, what a way to start qualifier race number 1 for May on the Sunday Race Club. I am looking forward to qualifier 2 because it's looking like May is going to be a really good month.
And you can catch up with Emma. It's at Biking Emma. She'll be here with me all the way through. My name's Matt Payne. You can catch up with me at Matt Fixer Payne. Don't forget to jump on to at MyWhoosh. Tag in there. If you've got anything that you want to share with us, please do get in touch and make sure you're tagging at MyWhoosh with all those pictures of your pain caves and your racing. We will be back in 1 week's time. Feels good saying that after all these days in a row. For the next qualifier, that's going to be qualifier race number 2. Please do join us on Twitch TV as well as on YouTube. It's been a pleasure putting words to the action. Stay safe. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.